Hello, everyone. I am so sorry I can't be there with you guys. I will hopefully be back in the building on Friday, but for now, you're stuck with these really wonderful videos of myself. We are going to be starting the disease unit. So, yesterday, hopefully, you got a chance to either take or retake the photosynthesis and respiration quiz. It looked like scores improved drastically, so I'm happy that you guys had that opportunity. So today we're going to be learning about disease, as in what is disease, and then more specifically bacteria, which is one of the microorganisms that cause disease. So for each day, today, tomorrow, and Thursday, you're going to have to watch a short video from me going over some information, and then you will be completing a short worksheet using resources that I put on Schoology. And then the last thing that you're going to do each day that I do want you to complete by the end of class is going to be a discussion post. The discussion post is just answering a couple different questions and also gives you an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. I will be on my computer. I will be checking Schoology, my messages, and then I will also be checking the discussion posts. So if you have any questions, I will hopefully be able to get back to you on those as soon as I can. So please make sure we are still being really, really great for the adult in the room, being respectful, doing our best with behaviors, and completing all of this work. Friday, when we get back, I can kind of go over everything and answer any of those questions that you may have had. And also, please feel free to Schoology message me as well if you have any questions that you do not want your classmates to see. As always, please make sure you're checking the weekly schedule. I have my WebEx linked, which you will not need anymore because WebEx was not working. But I do have both the assignment and the discussion post linked on there for each day. Also, I have everything in the disease folder with the date that it is assigned. So please make sure you are checking that. So right now, I do want you to go to the life science Schoology page. You will notice we have a new red folder, which is called disease, because that is the unit we are going to be starting today. If you need anything from the cells unit, you can find it in archived. You will notice it right here. Everything can be found down there. In the disease folder, so there's going to be 2 assignments for each day. So today we're focusing on disease and bacteria. Tomorrow we will be focusing on viruses. And then on Thursday it'll be fungus and parasites. Okay, for each day there is an assignment and there is a discussion post. I do want you to finish the assignment first. And then once you have gotten through that, then I want you to participate in the discussion post, both of which should be completed by the end of class. So today I want you to open up the disease and bacteria assignment. Okay, please disregard anything about my WebEx. That did not work very well this morning. So we are just going to go with this wonderful video. So you'll see 3 attachments. The one I want you to open up is the disease and bacteria PDF. Okay, it looks like this. This is all that you will have to fill out today, as well as the discussion post. This first part, what is disease, will go directly with the PowerPoint I'm about to go over. The bottom part of this worksheet can be filled out with the PowerPoint I'm going over, and it can be filled out using the microorganisms readings, or there is a video as well if you need additional information. Okay, so lots of resources here for you. But again, the first goal is going to be finishing this worksheet and submitting. So you have 2 things to submit every day this week until I get back on Friday. So I am going to go over kind of just the basics of what is a disease and what is bacteria. So this is when you will fill out that top part of your worksheet. What is a disease? You are just copying it pretty much word for word. You will be using this as your notes instead of having to use your notebook today. So I think most of us are familiar with the word disease, okay? We usually think of it as like a sickness or some sort of ailment. Disease is rarely a good thing. I can't really think of a situation when it would be, okay? Now, the definition is pretty broad. It is something that changes quite a bit, so I kind of just made it as simple as possible for you. So it is any abnormal condition that negatively affects the body of an organism. So anything that hurts, doesn't help a living thing, that is a disease. So make sure you get that written down. Microorganisms cause most infectious diseases. So there's a couple words in there we need to talk about. The first one is microorganisms. So we know that organisms are living things, right? So if we put micro in front of it, okay, that just means we have some really, really small living things. And these really small living things cause most infectious diseases. So there's that word infectious. That is something we've probably heard a whole lot over the past couple of years in the pandemic. Infectious means that something can spread from one organism to another. Okay, we've probably heard this a lot because COVID is a very infectious disease. It spreads very quickly and very easily. Hence me currently being home all week. So I want you to have this written down. Infectious just means that it can spread. So if you think about it, there are some diseases that don't spread. Okay, there are some things that can negatively affect you that you cannot spread on to someone else. And those would be called non-infectious. So non-infectious is just the opposite. It means something cannot spread from one organism to another. So there's that word microorganisms again. Again, this just means they are very, very small living things. And the microorganisms we are going to be talking about this week that cause infectious diseases are bacteria, which we're covering today, viruses, parasites, and fungus. So that first section of your worksheet should already be completed. Then we're going to get into information about bacteria, which is the first microorganism on our list that can cause infectious diseases. So, what is bacteria? The essential question up at the top is, how does bacteria impact the body? Now, we've already talked about bacteria a little bit this year. I think most of us are familiar with the fact that there is bacteria literally everywhere. And it's not that we are constantly sick all the time because of all of this infectious bacteria around us. There's plenty of bacteria that does not harm you, right? There's some that can even help you. Like when we talked about those mutualistic relationships. So I'm going to get all of this put up here. I don't know why I went so crazy with the transitions on this slideshow. So bacteria are single-celled, meaning they're made of one cell, microorganisms with no nucleus. So we talked about this a little bit. These are called prokaryotic cells. So if you remember, plants and animals are eukaryotic cells. Bacteria are prokaryotic because they do not have that nucleus. They are often shaped like rods, spheres, or spirals, so they have very distinct shapes, and they are often named based on their shape. Some can cause disease. Usually, they can be treated with antibiotics. So if you get sick with an infectious bacterial infection, usually you can take medicine, which is called antibiotics, to treat that infection. Bacteria is found everywhere. Most bacteria is either good for you or harmless. So we have two words down at the bottom. I just have them because I think they're important to know. You do not necessarily have to write them down anywhere. Normal flora, okay, is the good bacteria found all over your body. This is that mutualistic relationship we have with bacteria that's in our digestive tract, helps us digest food, and then bacteria gets a place to live and get their energy. Then we have probiotics. Probiotics can be found in supplements. Some of you may take some probiotics every day. They're also found in yogurt, things like kombucha. It's kind of a big marketing thing right now to have probiotics and things because these are live bacteria that is good for your health. Okay, so those are two examples of the good bacteria for us. Now, in the next few slides, I have some examples of the not so good bacteria. And just a reminder, this PowerPoint is on Schoology. It is just called Microorganisms PowerPoint. So we're going to go through some examples of infectious bacterial diseases. Obviously, this is just a handful I thought of a few years ago. This is not covering every single one. Just a quick trigger warning, there are some pictures on each slide that are not exactly pleasant to look at. So if you are squeamish in any way, I will try to give you a heads up before I put those on the screen. So Salmonella is the first example here. This is a foodborne illness. I'm sure we've heard of Salmonella when maybe your parents are like, don't eat the cookie dough because there's raw eggs in there. And then you eat it anyways and you might get a little tummy ache. Salmonella just causes food poisoning. It's usually undercooked meat and eggs. Also can be fruits and veggies if they're not washed properly. Can cause fever, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and a headache, and can be treated with antibiotics. E. coli is another bacteria that it normally just lives in your intestines, and it's usually harmless, but certain strains can cause disease. And obviously super, super extreme cases of this foodborne illness can lead to bloody diarrhea and kidney failure. But again, those are some really extreme cases. And E. coli is also kind of my claim to fame. The E in the E. coli stands for Escherichia coli. Miss Escherichia coli. It's really lovely. Strep is another one. I'm not going to even butcher the name of that. You'll see that a lot of the names have similar suffixes, and those are based on the shape of the bacteria. But strep, some of us have had things like strep throat or impetigo. These are diseases caused by this bacteria. Can be harmless. Again, you have it on your skin, in your throat, in your digestive tract, but it can cause some infections such as strep, impetigo, but then there's some severe diseases that are a little bit more rare, like necrotizing fasciitis, which is like a flesh-eating bacterial infection, so that's lovely. Scarlet fever or toxic shock syndrome. Ladies may have heard of toxic shock syndrome, probably more than our biological male students here. Toxic shock syndrome is something that can be caused from leaving a tampon in for too long. So that's no fun. It can be pretty a nasty disease. So here are some pictures. So if you are squeamish, please look away for this next little part of the video. So on the left is our necrotizing fasciitis. Lovely. And then on the right is scarlet fever with that really red rash all over the chest. Some more examples are staph, like a staph infection. This is another bacteria that normally is just fine. It's all over your body, found in the nose, in your respiratory tract, on your skin. But again, it can cause some mild to severe diseases. Some mild things, it can cause skin infections like boils, folliculitis, impetigo, cellulitis. Also can cause respiratory infections. Respiratory is like your lungs, right, and breathing. And can cause some food poisoning. Some more severe diseases are bone and joint infections, MRSA, and again, toxic shock syndrome. Here's some pictures. Please look away if you are squeamish. So on the left there, I believe that is a picture of a skin infection caused by staph, and on the right, it is a staph infection in an open wound. So those were just some examples. What you're going to do now, you are going to complete the disease and bacteria worksheet if you haven't already, using this PowerPoint and the other resources on Schoology. I have a microorganisms reading that covers bacteria that is attached to today's page. I also have a video that is linked on today's page. Please submit it when you are finished. Then I want you to go to the bacteria discussion post on Schoology, and by the end of class, I want you to answer the next 3 questions. First one, have you or a family member ever been affected by a bacterial infection? Okay, you don't have to give names or anything like that, but if so, what were the symptoms? And another question I would think about is, was it something they were able to treat? Often bacterial infections, even though they can get kind of nasty, they can be treated. And then if you have any other questions about bacteria that came up while I was talking about this stuff or while you were doing your own research, I want you to list any other questions you have about bacteria in the discussion post. So please make sure you submit your worksheet, participate in the discussion post, and then you are done for today. Tomorrow we are going to be talking about viruses.